I'm building something and I am passionate about it and I want to continue building it up. So I'm willing to put in that extra work to get the results that I want.
Welcome back, guys, to the Hassle of Hair, episode 120. Today's guest, we have Nawal Kassir. I believe that's how you say her last name. She does correct me on the podcast, so hopefully I get it right finally. And she's she runs Visual Knockout, which is a photography company that does martial arts events, right? Muay Thai events, MMA events, and she really captures martial arts. And before we get into my weekend and we get into my fun-filled weekend, the reason why I had her on, why I like her, I know why I like her photos. I know a lot of photographers, and her style, every single one has their style, right? Some have a very vibrant, really sporty action style, where it just captures a lot of each style says its own story, right? And I don't know, her style, each picture tells a story very, very, you look at one picture and it could tell you a whole story in a matter of seconds, and it captures the emotion, it captures what's happening. My favorite picture is of me at a PKB with Naya, with little Naya, who actually won this weekend, her first amateur. But my favorite picture, because I look at that picture and it just tells me it shows me what I'm doing with my life. It shows me who I am. It shows the journey in which Naya's going on. And I don't know, it just captures everything in one picture. And I that's when I first was like, okay, I really like her style. And each picture that she has, it's not just fighting, it's not just martial arts, it's not just people kicking each other. She goes and she takes photos of, and she posts photos of the coaches with the athletes, or the athletes and moments before the fight and after the fight, and she captures the emotion. And I don't know, I'm happy that I got to interview her. Other than that, before we get into the interview, you guys, little Naya, Strike's first amateur fighter, first youth amateur fighter. She actually she won this weekend. She had a fight in Stockton, California. She fought on the all ladies Knock Muay Challenge card. It was the Battle of the Queens, and she won. She faced a girl from Master Reed, under Master Reed, actually Master Reed's daughter, Star, and they've seen each other a few times, and I didn't get to go because I was bouncing at a bar, but watching the videos and the live feed of the fight, and then the video of her winning, the experience she had at, I believe she's 7 years old. At 7 years old, imagine everything she went through, the walking to the ring, seeing the crowd, the lights, the music, and having to go through that, and then having to fight another person. That experience is going to change her. The confidence she has, at this point in my coaching journey, I'm coaching a lot of kids, and you get to see the struggles of the youth of the city, and people, the struggles of youth that come in. And one of the main struggles of kids that come in, it always falls back to confidence, right? They don't have that confidence to do things, or to be social, or to do as sports. They don't have that. They lack that confidence. And this martial arts thing is a major confidence booster. And you have someone that just fights at 7 years old. This, whatever she does from now on, I could guarantee that this moment, or the moment she also has in the future of fighting, the confidence she's gonna have to do anything in her life is gonna be extraordinary, right? And even going back to the interview, like, well, you're gonna hear it, but me and Nawal get into talking about the art of learning, and it's this martial arts thing is the art of learning, right? Showing you on how to learn something, how to get good at something, how to grow in something. And at 7 years old, Naya walks, even before she was 7, I believe she was 5 or 4, and Naya walks into the strike and doesn't know martial arts, and she's going on this journey and learning Muay Thai and learning the sport and competing and going through lessons, and having to have the ups and downs, having to have these lessons at such a young age. It's she's learning how to learn. She's learning on how to grow in something. You give that to anybody, they're going to be able to do anything, right? They have the confidence to do anything. And when the cliche thing, right? Like, anything's possible, right? Anything's possible. Like, you could do anything. Like, telling kids you could do anything is not necessarily the way to go, right? Like, telling young kids, like, anything is possible. You can do anything. I truly don't believe that. A lot of kids, like, what it is should be, and I've come to learn this, is you can learn anything. You have the opportunity to learn anything you want in this world. Now, are you going to be the greatest at it? You have the opportunity to. Not everybody is going to be the greatest at stuff, right? There's only a select small 0.00001% of people that are great, like the best of the best at things, right? But you have the opportunity to learn anything you want. And showing kids and giving kids that, like, instilling that in their mind, it helps. Like, we live in a small city, and it's kind of gonna bleed through into other kids, right? And then they become adults, and then you have this culture, you have this community, right? This new thing. I mean, Coach Amber started Muay Thai in Los Baños, started a different way of thinking when it comes to martial arts. Like, she's trying to do the whole thing, right? And she's not only doing that, she's building a culture. And that's, like, one of the biggest things I think that a gym needs, is a specific kind of culture. What's your culture going to be? And instill it in everybody. And it just grows and grows, this culture. And the culture that she's building, it's I don't know, it's exactly what I started this podcast for, right? It's for passions, like, to build on yourself, to make yourself better in that culture she's starting, right? Not only with the kids and growing it, and for the future with the kids, but also with the adults. You know, it's cool to see these parents of these kids that are in the classes, like, start to become friends and become a team, and become, like, bringing in the culture, and seeing people that walk into the gym that don't really, that you could see they're adults and they lack a little bit of confidence, and they start to grow that confidence, and it builds, and they start to become this new person, and it bleeds into other people, and it's culture. It's cool. I'm rambling right now, but I'm kind of like working through something in my head too at the same time. So sorry if it sounds like crazy, but yeah. So congratulations to Naya. Congratulations to her parents. You guys are raising a wonderful kid, a great kid. Congratulations to Coach. She like I don't know anybody that works harder. I really don't. Coach Amber, like, it works her butt off. Nonstop. She has 2 businesses. She's coming up with curriculums for the kids class. Like, she's working on strike. We're building strikes. She's like stuff that I get to see that no one gets to see behind the scenes, right? And that she's just nonstop. I actually was telling I was texting her, hey, if you need help, like, let me know. Don't be afraid to let me know. But I wrote, like, I started texting her what she's, like, the amount that she's doing, right? Like, everything that she's doing. And it made me realize, like, holy shit, like, this is like, this is the difference between someone that's going to have a big gym, a good gym. It doesn't have to be a big gym with a lot of members, but a good gym. This is the difference between a good coach, right? You have to have it all, I think. You have to be knowledgeable in your craft. You have to be able to communicate. And I'm saying this is what she has, not what I have. I want to get all these things, right? And you have to be business savvy. You have to. You have to. Like, the way I think about it, it's like you're building a community, you're building a culture, you're building fighters, you're building athletes. If you don't have the money or the business structure to help these athletes or these people that want to change their lives, or these people that want to get fit, or in order to help people, like, you need to make sure your money and your doors stay open, right? So it's the responsibility falls on you, and she's doing that, and then being able to communicate and talk to people and show them what to do and show them how to do things. It's not easy. It's like you're speaking a different language when you're dealing with new people. Like, Coach is a really good speaker. But all I'm saying is that I don't know anybody that works harder. It's nonstop. And I'm glad that she's in Los Baños. If it wasn't for her, then I don't know what I'd be doing right now. And then I bounced over the weekend. I was at a bar in San Jose. I helped a buddy. He hit me up. Man, that was insane. It is one of the it was mind blowing to me. Because at 11 o'clock, so I was like 6 p.m. to 2 a.m., right? At 11 o'clock, I was like, man, this is an easy gig. Super easy gig. And then it was at a bar in downtown San Jose. And 11:30 hit, right? 11:30 hit, and people started getting drunk. And that's when the craziness happened, right? Like, I had a girl pull my hair. I got fucking pissed because my head went backwards, and maybe not leave my hair down when I'm doing security. I had a girl pull my hair, and I even told Raquel, like, my wife, and I told her, I was like, yeah, some girl pulled my hair, and as I'm walking by her, she's like, I want to go home with you. Pulled my hair. I got fucking pissed. Like she's like, oh, that girl hit it on you. You like that? And I was like, no, like you don't understand. Like by that time, having to deal with all these drunk people, you're so frustrated. You're so frustrated because they're like kids. They're kids, right? They turn into like fucking toddlers, and you just want to like hit everybody, and so that happened. Um, I actually seen a friend from high school where I had to push, because I'm moving people out of the way, so there's a walkway, and I'm telling this dude to move, and he was drunk out of his mind, and the third time I tell him like, dude, you got to get the fuck out of the walkway, and he's like, why don't you say excuse me, and like really got like like in my face. And I was like, you need to move. He's like, why don't you say excuse me? I was like, no, get the fuck out of the way. Like, get out of the way. Like, and ended up being a girl that I knew from high school. That was her husband. I was like, what the fuck, dude? It was so crazy. And then the big event. So we ended up kicking out. So there's these two ladies, right? They're older ladies. They had to be in like their 50s, right? And there was a young crowd that was causing a ruckus from the get-go. And they were just chilling, right? I'm walking by, just watching them, because one of them was really drunk, ended up flashing her tits all over the place, right? And it was just wild. I was just, this is something's going to end up happening. So I'm just standing there, and all I hear is fuck you, you old bitch. And I was like, what the hell? And they just started fighting. So I jump in the middle, trying to break them apart. And I tell the older ladies to go out the back. I take them out the back. And the rest of the bouncers took the group out the front. And I was kind of by myself, and I didn't realize it. And so I'm walking out the back, and they're just like, well, they did this and they did that, and I'm like, okay, just get out. I just want you out. And they got the back. And when I tell you that this happened so quickly, so fast, like it happened fast, right? I'm walking them out, and they're talking to me, telling me what happened, and I really don't care. I just want them to get out. And all of a sudden I hear, fuck you, bitch, fuck you. Around the corner, this girl comes down we're in the back of the bar, and this girl comes down the alley just screaming. I mean, she was a bigger set girl, like pretty big. And she's like, fuck you, bitch. Come say to my face, you don't want to fight me, you want to run. And I'm like, oh shit. And then that's when so there's a guardrail there's a rail behind me, and then there's the two older girls in front of me, and I'm trying to talk them to getting out of the guardrail, getting out of the rail where the railing is, the exiting the railing, the patio area. And I thought we had to have them out of that area, right? As I thought, like, that's the area we need to have them out of. And I'm all by myself. Like, there's no security back with me. And then, so as that girl comes up, she's right behind me. The one that's saying, fuck you. The younger girl's behind me, behind the railing. And I had the two older ladies in front of me, and I'm in front of the railing with the two older ladies in front of me. And all of a sudden, the older lady's like, you don't know who I am? I was born and raised in the east side San Jose. I was like, oh shit. I was like, fuck, here we go. And I'm telling you, it matters of seconds. Like, it went from like them crying to like wanting to get, like, I'm trying to like get them out, and matter of seconds, it just went from 0 to 100 in seconds. So the girl's like, you don't know where you don't know who I am? I'm born and raised in east side San Jose, where I'm from. And I'm like, oh fuck, here we go. And she stands on top. The younger girl says, oh yeah, like right away, right when that girl said that, the younger girl stood on top there's a bench behind the guardrail. Stood on top of the guardrail and just said, "Oh yeah," and just fucking decked her right in the face. And I'm like, "Oh shit!" And I'm trying to like get them because I'm still trying to get the girls out of the railing, right? Trying to get them out. And I'm like, "Oh fuck!" And I'm like pushing them, like they're pushing against me. I'm sandwiched between a group of bigger set women, and then a whole group of the whole squad of girls came that they were with, and they're just fucking. I'm just sandwiched in between, and all of a sudden, right when all the girls got there, all the security got there too, and Diego, so Adaptive Sessions, who basically got me the gig, and thank you, by the way, who really, like, props to you, dude. The fact that you do this every day, not every day, every weekend, props to all those guys that do it every weekend, props to them. I don't know how I'd be able to do that every weekend, which I might. But then all the security gets there, and Diego sees me in the back with them, and he goes, "Hey, dude, get the fuck out of there. Like, you don't need to be in there." And I was like, "Well, no one told me. I thought I had to get them out the railing." And once they're out the bar, they're out, right? This is my first time bouncing. I don't know. And so they're just going at it. They fight. It dwindles down. And they just start fighting, like looking at the security. One of the guys started fighting with the security, but then this bigger set girl, like after the fight, we're in this, all the security's back, making sure they don't come back inside the bar, out in the back. And this bigger set girl out of nowhere she goes, "Fuck that, fuck those bitches." Talking about the older ladies. So, "Fuck those bitches. Fuck all y'all security, except that security. He's fine as hell. He could get it." And she pointed right at me, and I was like, "Oh fuck." It was like, oh god. It was just like, she kept on saying it too, so it was just like the running joke, right? Like a buddy of mine, he came to be a bouncer for the first time too. Lucas, a fighter, out of Resistance. No, but he goes, "Yeah, I turn around the corner, like thinking there's a fight going on, and I just see Jesse spitting game on a bigger girl. Like, oh fuck." I don't know. I thought it was funny, but whatever. Speaking about that, there was fighters there too, right? Everybody that he brought there were pretty much trained, like in martial arts, or like Lucas is a professional fighter. Ian, just the champion Ian of WCE. Is it WCE? Yeah, just won a bout for WCE, amateur belt. And you have these guys that train on a daily, like are always training and always in the gym, always around savages, always like sparring. And it was mind-boggling to me. You got to remember, I live in Los Baños, where it's a small town, and even if you go to the bar, there's like 5 people there. And it was eye-opening and mind-boggling to me when I would see people, like guys were trying to fight, and guys were getting all heated and pissed off, and Lucas and Ian are super chill, right? Super chill guys who could fuck up a lot of dudes. Like 1% of San Jose, they could fuck up. Like in a hand-to-hand combat, they're fucking them up, right? And you see these guys like super big up top, and then small little legs up on bottom, and these like just, I don't know, some like old cholo dudes and that are looking to fight, and they're like have their hands down. They're like, "Let's go, what's up? Let's go." Or just thugs, you know what I mean? Just thugs, and just wanting to fight. And you look at them and you're like, man, like, can you even go like 10 seconds? Like, can you fight for 10 seconds without getting tired? it's mind boggling to me. Like they have so much confidence where you have like Diego, Ian, and Lucas who they're not going to turn it on unless like they need to. And if they turn it on, like it's going to be a bad day for whoever got them pissed off. Like props to Adaptive Sessions. Like when you talk about like experience in that world, super calm. I didn't see him get mad like at all. He was dealing with situations, kicking people out, and just staying calm. That was the most impressive thing, because usually I'm a pretty relaxed dude, but I started getting freaking pissed off at everybody because of how childish they were all acting, like just drunk people. Like dealing with drunk people, you're just like corralling them, right? You're just trying to make sure all the herd is moving right out the door or staying safe. Props to him. Yeah, that was my weekend, guys. I don't know. It was fun. I might be doing it some more. I'm going to do it on St. Patty's Day this Thursday, so it's going to be even crazier. Yeah. So it's going to be crazy. You guys, yeah, I mean, go check out the Instagram, The Hassle of Hair. Subscribe to the YouTube. We're 2 away from 200. Hit us up. Subscribe. We're going to keep on doing this. Yeah, I love you guys. If you're listening, have a great week. Enjoy the interview. I love you guys. Have a great week. Wish you the best. And remember, just keep going. Just keep going. Keep going after your passion. If you love something, you'll figure it out. And if things are down right now, like I've been in a hole, kind of. Right? These little holes I've been digging myself into, and working my way out with financially, mentally, like all these things. I still have all these problems, right? Life is getting a little bit easier, but it always seems to be the same stresses, like money, bills, family, like all these things stay the same. It gets a little easier, but it all stays the same. But you just learn how to work through them, and we're here. I love you guys. Peace. Is Nawal, right? I'm saying that right?
Yes. Nawal. Yes.
Nawal Kassir.
Nawal Kassir. I'm glad you clarified that, because people look at my name and they're just like, how on earth do I pronounce this? Like,
yeah.
A little background about my name. It's a Lebanese name. So usually I tell people to think of like Christmas, Noel, but it's spelled much differently.
And are you from, it's Lebanon, right?
Yes.
Are you from Lebanon?
My dad was born in Beirut.
Okay. So for the people listening, Noelle is a photographer, and the way I found her photography is through the PKBs and Muay Thai events. And you also train martial arts as well, right?
I do, yes.
So she has a business called The Visual Knockout, where she goes to these events, the PKBs, from what I know her from, and she does photography. And I know a few photographers, like here in my city, Los Baños, and then outside throughout the whole entire Muay Thai game or fighting game. And your photography stood out because you do capture the emotion, and it's crazy because one single picture that you have, it tells a story. And I'm not talking bad about the photographers I know, but you're the only one that I really just look at your pictures and I'm like, man, that tells like a whole story in one moment.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes me happy to hear, because that is what I'm passionate about. I really feel like I'm a storyteller, and I don't want my pictures, like, it's great to capture like really cool action shots and like people getting punched and things like that. But for me, I really pay attention to like the fighters and what what their demeanor is before the fight and how they interact with their coaches. And like this image that you just pulled up of you and Naya, I loved her emotion. Like she was just so emotional before the fight. And I just felt that. Like, I know what that feels like. And to see such a little person just like go in there, and then she absolutely killed it. Like, I saw her before this fight and she was so nervous and she was like a little teary. And I was like, oh no, like, how's this going to go? And then she just went out there and she turned it on. And I was so inspired by her. I loved it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, these moments right here. That's what I shoot for. I really want to tell. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. And this the photo that we're looking at. It's me and Naya, and it's at a PKB, and we're basically in the middle of rounds, and it's my favorite picture by far. I don't know. It just shows on like what I'm feeling and what she's feeling, and it just captured what I do in like a picture, and I love it, and I'm thinking about actually getting a bigger one and framing it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. You
And
should.
and going on to like your photography, like I know there's a whole like there has to be a story. Like how did you get into photography?
So I was really thinking hard about this to try to figure out like where it started. I started taking pictures when I was like 12 years old. I found an old film camera in my mom's closet that she had stuffed away from her college days. And I just started experimenting with it. And I really found that it became like an extension of my senses. Like I played around with the film camera a little bit. And then I eventually got a little digital camera and I just took it everywhere with me from like the age of 12 all through my teenage years. I was just always that friend with a camera, just documenting all of our crazy adventures. And I just really became obsessed with capturing the human story in particular, just taking pictures of people and places and the things that we were doing. And I just really love to frame moments in a way so that it would tell the story of what was happening.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of how I just picked up a camera one day, and I was always kind of a creative kid. But nothing really clicked. Like I dabbled in like drawing and painting, and nothing really clicked until I started taking pictures.
And did you so I had a like pretty interesting childhood. My mom was super into photography, but not like a professional. She just liked scrapbooking. She liked memories.
Yeah.
So my whole childhood was in front of a camera. Like I'm talking about thousands of scrapbooks. And I had first met my wife, and she doesn't have any memories of her childhood. What I'm asking is, did you was memories like? Do you have a lot of pictures from your childhood? Did you grow up around a camera, like in front of you? I'm saying.
Not really. My mom would take pictures here and there, but she wasn't like, it was just like those birthday parties and like really like special events, but
Yeah.
like on an everyday basis, no, we didn't really take a ton of pictures. But I do remember, I loved when I was a kid looking through. My mom did have like a big box full of like old pictures of like my grandparents and like their parents and just like old photographs that she had saved from the past.
Yeah.
And I would sit there for hours when I was a kid and just look through those photos. And I just loved to see those moments from the past printed out. And it was really fascinating for me. So I wasn't in front of the camera a lot as a kid, but I did have access to photos and was always like fascinated with the stories that they told,
Yeah.
and just that window that they provided into the past.
And when did you find out that you wanted to do this like as a career, more than a hobby? Or actually,
Right.
when did you like not as a career, because when did you want to like get better at this? Like when did you figure out that it was an art form and that you wanted to learn?
I would say probably somewhere around the age of like 15, 16, when people started asking me to do like family pictures for them and portraits of their kids and things like that. When I was 15, I started working in a daycare, so I was around kids all the time and they would just be like my little models. I would just like set them up and like put them in cute outfits and take pictures of them. And I started just getting a lot of like people telling me like, wow, you're really talented. You capture portraits really well. And I loved doing it. I loved capturing it, went back to capturing the emotion in people's faces, and excitement and fear and curiosity and just all these emotions that we have. So people started asking me to take portraits for them, and that's when I really started moving in the direction of photographing people. And then in high school, kind of started making a little side hustle out of it, doing portraits and things like that. And then when I graduated, I just took all the photography classes at our local community college. And that's when my vision really started coming to life, that I kind of wanted to focus on people and their journeys and the stories they had to tell. So I've been kind of doing that since, and I've worked other jobs like in like the meantime. It's not always been like my full-time gig. But now I'm kind of trying to be more involved. It is my full-time job now.
Yeah. And what's the highest level of before I, so it's hard. People don't realize like there's two ways to learn. Like you can learn from like getting an education and really going as high as you can in the classes you take. And then there's some people that just do it, right? You said you went to community college. Did you go any higher than community college?
I didn't. So I probably would have. I was like always like a really good student. I like got really good grades and I was very good at that like studious aspect of it.
Yeah.
But it's so true that you don't like all of that studying I did and all of that, those A's that I got and all of that stuff didn't really help me grow. What helped me to grow was getting out there and doing it. And I probably would have gone further in my education. I ended up getting pregnant and having my son, my first child, when I was 19. So while I was in the process of doing all the photography courses, I was pregnant. So I was like in college, pregnant, and that kind of changed the course of my life, but in a really good way, because it became more about experience. I decided to kind of, when I had my son, I delved into motherhood like fully. And took tons of pictures still of him, but it became more about just living my life and documenting my life. And I feel like that was better for me than going super far with like a fine art education or something like that.
And it's hard because like I feel like passions, like you can't really like go to school for it. Like okay, so when it comes to math, like I hate math. I can go to school for it and pick myself up and go learn it in a classroom and get the basics of it down and have to go to college. That's how I'm going to learn if I actually go to college. But something that I love, I think the drive of having a passion, if you really love it, you really don't need the schooling or the education for it. You just got to go do it because you're
Yeah.
just going to dive into it so much.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. And I really believe in self-directed learning. I actually homeschool both of my kids. And I want for them to be able to hone in on what they love and just really be able to focus on that and take it wherever they want to take it, and just kind of follow that intrinsic motivation. Because with school, I feel like a lot of that is external motivation. At least for me, it was. It's like you want to do well and you want to get the grade and you want to do the assignment. And for that, I didn't really retain any of that stuff I learned in that way. What I retained is the stuff that I was like, wow, I'm really interested in this. I want to pursue this and explore with this. And yeah, I feel like that intrinsic motivation is the best way to learn and grow in something.
And when did you come out with the like actually trying to make money off of photography?
Uh, so I think probably around the time that I had my son, because like I said, I was working in daycare, didn't have to take things too seriously, you know. And then when I became a mother, I was like, wow, like I want to spend this time with my son. I don't want to have to work for someone else. Um, so that's when I really started trying to make it my business and make money at it. But it's a fine line to walk because when you're really passionate about something and you love it, trying to make money at it, it makes it less fun. So that's been like a struggle throughout the years of trying to balance that making a living and also just doing what I love and keeping it authentic.
Yeah. And
Um,
sorry, what happened?
Go ahead.
Oh,
No,
sorry.
go ahead.
There's a this is what people don't understand. There's like yes, you could be super talented at what you love, but making money and a business mind is two different things. Like
Totally different things.
yeah.
Yeah.
And like who did you learn it? Did you learn like basically on your own on how to like how hard was it for you to take the steps into like, okay, I've got to be a business. Did you have a mentor? Did you have somebody behind you doing helping you or
I have had a couple mentors over the years. In particular, I started working before I started doing combat sport photography. Like I said, I started in portraits, and then I got into the wedding industry. And I worked with a great photographer in the wedding industry, an older guy, and he just kind of assumed like a father figure role, and he taught me a lot about the business side of wedding photography, anyways, and a little bit of event photography too. So I did get a lot of information from him in that way. But a lot of it has just been learning as I go and just kind of figuring it out for myself. I'm very studious, so I read a lot of books. I've read a lot of like business books and self-help books and organizational stuff like that. But really, the I've just been learning as I go.
and
Yeah,
before we get into the visual knockout, because I mean, I love fighting, and I think the portraits and all that is awesome, but I really just love the fighting pictures the
yeah.
most. Before we get into the visual knockout, how did you start martial arts?
Okay, so I started martial arts. I was first introduced to it when I was a teenager. My now husband introduced me to martial arts. He started training probably around the time that we were about to have our son. So this was like in 2012, 2013. He started training at a local gym, the gym that we're still at, the Pit North. And he bought a punching bag and some mats and put them in our garage, and I would just work out in there with him.
Hmm.
And I realized like, wow, I really love this. Like, this is a great physical outlet, like this is a great emotional outlet. And I would just go all out in there. uh, and then after I had my son, when he was like a toddler, we put him into the kids' classes, like got him training a little martial arts. And I started doing it too, first just as like a way to get fit, you know, it was pretty fun. And then I just fell in love with it. Like it was just like my something that I wish I found when I was a lot younger. Um, I wasn't super sporty growing up, but I was always really like strong, and martial arts just like it just clicked. It was like wow, like this is something that I could be really good at and I really like doing. And I've been training since then. Um, I really started taking it seriously. I don't want to turn this into like a sad interview,
No, you're
but
fine because everybody
my
has that moment. Like there's a reason.
yeah,
What? Yeah.
my younger brother committed suicide in 2016, and that was really hard. And martial arts really helped me to cope with that, and to push through that and grieve. So that's when I really like became passionately involved in training, and competing, and yeah.
Yeah. And I you you talked about being sporty and being strong, and the more and more martial artists I meet and the more like business owners that I meet, it's not martial arts is not a thing where it's like, oh, he's strong and he's athletic. That's why he's doing so good. It's it's more the art of learning. Like you start in photography, you've what I've gotten so far, you start in photography and you really dived into it and you kind of like learned how to learn. Like you know the art of learning. And sometimes we like like I gravitate to things that are challenging for myself that I want to learn, and it's the kind of the same steps, like to be able to figure out how to do something. And I think what all of us are the people that have a lot of hobbies, because I'm pretty sure you have more than photography and martial arts, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I dabble in all kinds of things.
Yeah, it's more of the art of learning, and
Yeah,
I think that's where it comes from. I don't think anybody that does martial arts needs to be athletic or strong.
yeah, yeah, and
Yeah,
that's what I loved about it because, like I said, growing up, I mean, I played a little bit of soccer here and there, but I wasn't like naturally like super fast or um, anything like that. So martial arts. I love it because, like you said, it's just you're constantly learning and you're never done learning. And yeah, you don't have to be just good at it right away. You have to work at it. Like you have to really commit to it and put the time in the gym, and you know put those hours in
yeah,
and focus on it to get better. So that's what I really love about it. And for the past 5 years, I mean, I'm in the gym all the time. We go to the gym. It's like a family business for us. Like both of our kids go and they train, and we're in there like 4 or 5 days a week, every week. So it's a lot of fun.
yeah. It's a commitment, and
Yeah.
so I had like I'm very passionate about things. Like I dive into them, and I really get into hobbies, and what I love the most is martial arts and just kind of coaching people, and I love coaching. That's my passion. But I find that I put a lot of passion into it. Like I lost my mom when I was 15 years old, and having the loss of that like has really pushed me to drive even farther. Like can you like it's going to be a hard question, but can you explain like losing someone that close, like did it give you a whole new outlook on life? Like did it what did it show you? Like did it show you that you have a short time on this earth?
It did. So, losing my brother, it was a huge shock. I mean, in retrospect, I understand why he made the decision he did. It's really disheartening because he had a lot of potential. Like my little brother was that athletic, charismatic, super funny, fun to be around. Like people just couldn't understand why he did what he did. And it opened my eyes to realizing that people struggle a lot deep down, even if they don't show it on the outside. And it's important to be mindful of that and be kind to people, um, even if outwardly they don't seem like they need it. Um, And what it really taught me is that for it taught me a lot about myself personally. It showed me um, that I am a fighter. Like I'm here to persevere through hardships and to help inspire other people to do the same. Um, and Yeah, it really it's hard to sum up all the things that I learned from that experience. Um, but really just to keep going, to keep pushing through, that everybody has hard moments and hard times and struggles, and it always gets better. You just got to
Yeah.
keep pushing through that pain and pushing through those hard times, and eventually you're going to see the light.
And that's it's I guess that's what I'm trying to bring out is that like the more and more people that I've met that have mourned over somebody or lost somebody, they there is a perseverance. Like there's a reality that life's not forever. Like life
Yeah.
ends. And there's people out there that's never experienced that. And they don't really understand that life ends. It's kind of weird. We all know, everybody knows that we all die. But then a lot of people have never seen it, have never experienced it, and they don't have that perseverance. They don't know, like, hey, time's clicking, you gotta
Yeah.
go, you gotta go, and I live with that every day. And it's just for me, it's a bittersweet thing. Yes, I have lost somebody, I lost my mom, but at the same time, I'm lucky I experienced something like that because I understand that life is short.
Yeah, I feel that too. Um, and it gives you a sense of courage because, like you said, life is so short, it could end at any moment. You might as well do that thing that you want to do that thing that scares you, do that thing that's a little bit risky, but might have really big rewards because why not, Um, it does remind you to really be mindful of your time and where you put it and to not waste it for sure.
And so going back to you've started this photography, you've you've practiced it for many years, you find martial arts,
Hmm.
and then you start visual knockout
Yeah.
and you start going to events. And I don't know how long you've been doing it. I've only seen you at two. When you first started, I that was the first time I seen you, and I only seen you at PKBs. I don't know
Yeah.
if these are your first actual amateur events and pro events. Like, when did you start visual knockout?
So I started Visual Knockout in August of last year. And I actually started it. I had kind of taken a little bit of a break from photography. I hadn't really been um, doing too much professional work. I was kind of burnt out, honestly, just from, like I said, trying to turn a passion into a business and make money at it. It can really burn you out. It's not as fun anymore. And I was struggling to find my niche. I was struggling to find that thing that really lit me up like photography did in the early days. And then I started competing. So I took my first fight in 2019, 2 years after my brother passed away, and it was an MMA fight. And in retrospect, I don't know if I was quite ready to like dive right into MMA. Like I probably should have done a few PKBs before that. But I dove into that fight camp. Like I trained so hard for 8 weeks. I was in the gym 6 days a week. I lost like 40 pounds, like just really transformed myself. And then I lost the fight pretty badly. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
So I had to come back from that, and that was a really eye-opening experience, and I learned so much from that, like pulling myself up from a loss that like I had expected to win. I thought, I put in all this work and I trained so hard, and I'm gonna get the win, and I'm gonna have that validation, and that's gonna make me feel good. And then losing, I had to start from ground zero and like build myself back up again. And I did that. And then I I think it was like a couple years later, 2021, when things started opening back up again after COVID, I did my first PKB, and I won. And then I did four more and I won all of them. So I'm like 4-0 with PKBs now, which is pretty cool. Um, and that's when I started the visual knockout after my second PKB. I just, I had two fights that day. I ended up winning the first one and then going on and competing against someone else and winning that one too. And I just felt like so great, so good. I busted out my cameras and I started taking pictures of the other fighters because I just figured why not? You know, I'm
Yeah.
here. Um, and I got in touch with Ryan, who puts on the PKBs, and he was like, "Yeah, you know, we always want photographers come on out and start shooting the events." And so that's where I started, and now it's been a year, and I've shot MMA events, I've shot boxing events, I've done a bunch of Muay Thai events, and the PKBs are really fun. So you know, I'm just seeing where it's going to take me now.
Yeah. And that's the one thing I noticed was all the events you were doing, and that's work.
Yeah,
That's a lot of work, and a lot of photographers don't put in that work. And you kind of went from like one PKB to two PKBs, and all of a sudden you're doing you're at a bunch of events, and I'm like, what in the world? And that shows, that hard work and dedication shows. Um, you said your husband? I seen that you put that your husband helps you with visual knockout too, as well, right?
yeah, yeah, he does.
Is he does he have any pictures on the website too?
Yeah, I think I have posted a couple of his shots. He's pretty good. You know, he's not a photographer by like he didn't come to that on his
Yeah.
own. I have kind of like taught him how to use my cameras. I'm like, hey, like I need some help. Like you need to figure out how to use this camera and shoot with me. And he's done a really good job at it. He gets some great shots, and he's a really quiet. He has really quiet demeanor, so he can kind of like stay on the sidelines and get some cool shots. That it really helps me out to have a second set of eyes.
Yeah.
We just capture more moments that way.
And it's awesome because like me and my wife kind of we've have always worked together, even if it's just our business. We've worked at FedEx together. We've constantly always worked together. It sometimes it gets hectic. Sometimes it's kind of hard because it's too
Yeah.
you. But at the same time, it's great for a marriage because you're learning how to be a team, and
Yeah.
can you dive into that, like how it's done for your guys' marriage to build as a team?
Yeah. Like you said, it can get really hectic, especially when you have kids. I know you have a daughter, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So we have two young kids, and so working together, like sometimes we're dragging them to events with us, and like it can get crazy to be on this entrepreneurial path together. But it really does help to kind of build and grow together, and work with one another. We've become a lot closer since we've been doing this together. And when we train in martial arts together too, it's kind of like been a swap. Like he introduced me to martial arts, and I introduced him to photography, and we're
Mm.
kind of bringing the two together. He has a lot of knowledge on like the fight world, probably more than I do, because he's been engrossed in it a lot longer than I have. So he brings a lot of that to the table. He's like really observant about like the different fighters and the teams they're on, and he's like, oh, like I know that guy, like get pictures of him, like he's from like here.
Yeah.
Like, so he helps me in that way to like really learn about the fight community. um, and he brings a unique set of knowledge to the table that has really helped for me to kind of grow the brand and turn it into something really cool and unique.
Yeah, it is unique. It is unique because it's your style's unique in general, but I haven't seen anybody actually put a brand around. How do I explain it? Usually it's their name. They have their name, but you're actually starting a business where it's specifically photography on like martial arts, basically.
Yeah.
There might be some.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big world. There might be people doing what you're doing, but you're. It's a. What's happening is the PKBs are fairly new. Like what Ryan's doing, and he's starting his promotion. Like he's starting. What's his promotion again? Do you know the amateur event and pro?
It's like, I think the Muay Thai championship is like the newer thing that he's starting where he's
Yeah.
doing full contact shows.
Yes.
Yeah, the Muay Thai championship thing.
And you're like you're starting your business right when he's starting his thing, so it's kind of cool to see, and it's unique in that way too.
Yeah, and I'm really enjoying it because it's like providing people who are competing at like that lower level. They're not like quite to amateur or professional level of fighting. They're just really kind of getting into it and learning and growing. And it's cool to document that because I'm also learning and growing, and to just be capturing those people that are starting from the ground up is pretty neat. So yeah, we're all learning and growing and it's evolving, and I'm excited to see where it takes me.
And talking about people that have in the amateur level, this is a picture of Cy Hansen.
Yeah.
This was in Santa Cruz,
Yes.
and kind of take me through this picture. Because I'm always taking pictures of like fast, like I take pictures of my daughter playing softball or action shots. How do photographers get a kick? Because he's not kicking slow, he's kicking
Yeah.
fast, and you got it perfect.
Yeah. A lot of it is just you learn as you go, but like really being able to see when to time it right and see when a fighter is getting ready to throw something. You can't always tell, but sometimes you can kind of read. The more you do it, the more I do it, the more I shoot these events. I'm getting better at reading when a burst of action is going to happen.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, it helps to have good camera equipment. I have some really nice gear that I've accumulated over the years, and so it helps to have a fast shutter burst when these moments are happening, but also just learning how to read the fighters and when they're getting ready to do something.
And are there times where you just kind of just click and go?
Sometimes, but I always am trying to frame my shots. So yeah, it's so fast paced. Like, I mean, I end up from an event like this, I end up with like 5,000 pictures sometimes to go through. So yeah, I'm clicking that shutter a lot, but I'm never just like aimlessly pointing and shooting. I don't just like hold my camera up and like point and shoot. I'm like always trying to frame the fighters in a way where I'm going to capture that action, but it's going to be captured in a visually pleasing way.
Yeah.
I don't want to do too much post-production work. It takes a really long time. Like I said, I sometimes have 3,000 to 5,000 pictures to go through. So the less editing I have to do, the better. So I try to be really mindful when I'm shooting about how I'm capturing, like the angles I'm shooting at and things like that. But yeah, you have to be fast. You have to have good gear to shoot this kind of action.
And for the people like that kind of like love their passion and that want to dive into their passion, make money off of their passion, they need to hear like how much work it takes. Like there's no I'm pretty sure like the fun part is actually taking the pictures.
Yeah.
And the work is opening up that file where there's 500 pictures, 300 pictures, and you have to go through them, edit them, setting up your website. Like, how much is it post production or post
Yeah.
editing?
Post production, post editing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are the hours like that you like? Are you spending 8 hours, 2 hours, 3 hours?
Oh, crazy hours. I mean,
Yeah.
there's some nights where, like this past weekend, I shot an event Friday. I wasn't like the official photographer, but I had a teammate competing at the 559
Mhm.
MMA fights in Visalia. So we were there, and I shot some of that event. I shot his fight in particular, but we were there till like 10 and then got home at like midnight, went to bed, woke up the next day at like 4:45 in the morning to drive to Stockton to shoot the Battle of the Queens. So a lot of time going into like travel and shooting the events. And then after the events, I'm spending at least 8 hours editing those events. Like I, go ahead.
No, I just said
Yeah.
cheese. I just like, man.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. And I think that's something that distinguishes me also from other people who are doing this is I'm putting that time in, and I'm really, I try to make every picture that I take look great, you know? So I'm putting that time in, and I'm not necessarily getting paid for all of that time that I put in. But for me right now, it's worth it because I'm building something and I am passionate about it and I want to continue building it up. So I'm willing to put in that extra work to get the results that I want.
And Coach Amber, she owns two businesses, and she tells me that you have your own business, you're not working less. You're for the first years, you're gonna actually be working way more than having a job.
Yeah,
So
totally. Totally. Like
yeah.
way more. um, but you
So
know, go ahead.
but you know what were you saying?
I think it's worth it. For me, it's worth it anyways. You know, there's some days that I'm like, wow, like this is a lot of work. Like, is this paying off? Like, and it really does for me because it allows me freedom. You know, I have time. I can work from home. Like I said, I have two young kids. I have a 5 and an 8-year-old, and I homeschool them, so I'm home with them. And I like to have that freedom. We like to be able to just do what we want to do. You know, go somewhere if we want to go there, and not be a slave to
Nine
someone
to
else.
five.
Yeah, yeah, not be a slave to that 9 to 5.
So what's
So
next for Visual Knockout? Like, what are your plans for it?
yeah, so I'm hoping to continue growing. I mean, I like doing the PKBs, but I'd love to do more professional level promotions. I've worked with the WFC a little bit. I just put in an application to work for Bellator. My hopes aren't super high to get into that right away, but you know, I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to keep putting in that application for the media credentials, and hopefully eventually I'll work my way up to the big leagues, you know.
Hmm.
I'd love to be shooting for, I mean, it's dreaming, but I'd love to shoot for the UFC one day, you know. Um just other professional fight organizations. I really want to focus on women in combat sports, because that's kind of my point of view. So I mean, I love shooting the guys too. They always bring the action, but
Yeah.
I really lights me up to shoot women competing. So I feel like that's kind of going to be a main focus of the Visual Knockout is documenting women in combat sports.
And do you ever go to different gyms? I know you have some photos of you at your gym at the pit.
Mm-hmm.
Have you gone to different gyms and shot women?
You know, I've done a little bit. I shot at another local boxing gym. A friend of mine and a girl who I know that trains locally, Jules. She's actually going to be making her pro boxing debut coming up on April 1st for the WFC. So that's really exciting. I did some portraits of her training in her gym, and that was a lot of fun. I want to do a lot more of that. So that's something that that's definitely a direction I'm going to be going. And I've kind of been brainstorming ways that I could start putting that out there. But yeah, I definitely want to start going to other gyms and shooting more women athletes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so, Noel, you're a mom, you're a teacher because you teach your kids at
Yeah.
a homeschool. You're a photographer. You're a martial artist. You're a business owner. Like you have so much knowledge for people trying to go after their passions. Like, what what would how what would you tell somebody that came up to you and asked you like, how do I do this the rest of my life? How do I do like live off of my passion and keep this going? Because people have passions, but they always end them like in their late 20s or their late 30s and they just stop doing them. What would you tell
Yeah.
that person?
I would tell them to just keep believing in their dream, you know, there's going to be a lot of discouragement along the way. Um, I've dealt with so much like quote unquote failure and like things not working out how I thought they would work out or going the way that I want them to go. And you have to just stay focused on what it is that lights you up because like we touched on before, life is short and there's no reason to go through life feeling miserable and feeling unsatisfied and doing things that don't make you happy. So you have to be ready to take failure in stride and just brush that discouragement, like negative thoughts, all of that. um, you have to learn how to not let that affect you and be the driving force in your life. Um, you just have to you have to stay focused on what makes you happy and keep working towards that and brush off the other stuff, you know.
Awesome.
So it's not easy, but you can do it.
Yeah, nothing's easy. Nothing's easy. But thank you. Like, so I wanted like completely thank you because like I haven't done this in a while. I haven't really interviewed people, and getting to interview you has really sparked an interest in me to keep on doing it. I need to hear from people. The floor is yours. The last few minutes that we have, the floor is yours to kind of just say how to get a hold of the visual knockout, how to get a hold of your photography.
Okay, great. Yeah. So I want to say thank you too for interviewing me. This is the first time I've ever been interviewed. I was really nervous. So hopefully it went okay. But I love talking, you know, I love connecting with people. So this was really cool. So I appreciate you interviewing me. And yeah, right now you can get a hold of me on, I'm most active on Instagram on the Visual Knockout. At Instagram, I think there's periods in between each word. So the dot visual dot knockout. Um, you can reach me on Facebook too at the Visual Knockout as well. I'm on there. Um, not quite as active on Facebook, but getting there. And then I'm in process of building my website so that people can just go on there. My goal is to have my website just really easy to navigate. So fighters who I've photographed can just go on there and they can purchase their fight images. But right now people can reach me online. You know, I have all my contact info on there and you're welcome to just reach out with any questions you have. If you think that I've photographed you at a past event and you want to see those pictures, just let me know and I'll send them to you, you know, send you a preview gallery. And yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I'm still,
Awesome.
yeah.
The visual knockout, guys. Thank you guys.